Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of everything that I've learned from Anthony Robbins over the years. It's another dawn, another beginning, another fresh slate for each and every one of us to see what we can make of this day, we can make of this present moment, and how it can fit into the experiences and all of the things that we've done in the past, and be a foundation for the things that we do and springboard from to get us to our future. It's been a wonderful journey, and I think this one here is number 19. Episode 19 of 50, and I'm powering through these episodes, and before I know it, I'll have a library of 50 or more vlogs dedicated to the work of Anthony Robbins. As I've mentioned before, I have been to 3 UPWs over the years. 2 when I was in my mid-30s back in 94, 95, and 1 just recently, which was sadly announced to be Anthony Robbins' last UPW in Australia. I hope he gets to travel here one more time at least, so that people can take advantage of it, because the Sydney crowd is a very, very energetic crowd, and Australians respond really well to opportunity, because we live, at the end of the day, in one of the best countries in the world, a land of tremendous opportunity for everybody. If you have a dream, if you have a desire, and you want to work for it, and you plan for it, and you leverage the opportunities that this country makes available to each and every one of its citizens, then there's nothing much you can't do in this wonderful country. And Anthony Robbins is very, very big on getting people to focus on the here and now. And of course, he always says the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, but the second best time is right now. And also for us to all realize the most important thing of all is that our past failures do not equal our future opportunities. Our past does not equal our future unless you want to live there. So what you focus on is where your energy flows, and if you want to focus on good things, on productive things, on empowering things, then they will manifest themselves magically in your world. And conversely, if you want to live in the past and blame everybody else for your station in life, then that's where you're going to remain, because nobody is going to go out of their way and tap you on the shoulder and help you unless you first want to help yourself. I've got a little audience here today. I've got Mr. Magpie. Hello there, how are you going? Didn't know what it was before. When I saw something out of the corner of my eye, I got a little bit scared, but it's all good. I love magpies, and I remember as a young bloke studying about magpies, and what I loved about the story of magpies is that magpies normally mate for life, and they live about 18 years, 20 years, which is quite a long time for a bird. So this magpie here is probably one of a pair. He's out looking for some food. No doubt the other one's sitting on a nest somewhere with some eggs. And the early bird gets the worm, as they say. So once again, we just need to remind ourselves that each and every person has their fate, and just because it didn't work yesterday doesn't mean it's not going to work today. Each day God unlocks opportunities for those who are persistent, for those who have strong belief in Him, in His providence. And Anthony Robbins talks about the fact that beliefs are nothing but a sense of certainty in terms of what we believe is going to happen. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know, I don't believe in God, but those people also are the people who have a sense of certainty that there isn't a God. So they have strong beliefs. So we all are driven and motivated by the beliefs that we hold. And for that reason, we need to have a deep look at all of our beliefs and determine whether or not those beliefs, those strong senses of certainty that we have about certain things, are working for us, they serve us, they help us, they empower us, or they're not all that useful. And if they're not useful, then the best thing to do is to try and displace them. Get them out of your world, get them out of your life, get them out of your head, get them out of the things that you do. Because at the end of the day, we all have limited time in this world and in our lives. You know, we've got to sleep for a certain number of hours a day, we've got to work for a certain number of hours a day, and we've got a limited amount of time to do all the other things and to fit them in and to shoehorn them into our lives. So what Anthony Robbins suggests is that we need to have some sort of catharsis, some sort of reflection. So we know, and here we go, here's the other magpie. There's one here, and there's one down the other end there. They're out early in the morning just looking for some grubs and for some moths and things so they can go back and feed their little ones. And they're making their little song in the morning. It's wonderful to have some company, because for those who know me, this is one of my favourite vantage points, and why wouldn't it be? You know, it's the most beautiful city in the world. We've got the monument over there called the Opera House, and we've got a sunrise just oranging up and brightening up the sky, and we just need to have these moments of peace. But as Anthony Robbins said, is we need to clear ourselves out, because the only way that we can grow and develop is that we need to make space. We need to make valuable space in our lives, in our circle of our life circle, so that we can fit other things in, because the physics of achievement, the physics of growth and development mean that there needs to be space for something to fit in. And the big problem that most people have is, especially these days in 2023, we don't have space for anything because we're overwhelmed, we're completely full, we're completely booked out with other people's problems, other people's messes, other people's concerns, other people's fears, uncertainties and doubts, and all of those things that we've accumulated, that we've inherited over the years from our culture, from our families, from our work peers, from all of those interactions that we've had, from the media, you name it. There has never been a time in the history of time where human beings are being so bombarded by so many different channels, and the noise that we all experience is deafening. And unless you take some time to find your peace and to clear out some of those channels that are just wasting your energy and draining you of all the key things in your life, then you're going to be a victim. You're going to be a prisoner of your choices, and other people, other media channels, other channels are going to be taking all of your energy and all of your time and influencing your beliefs in a direct and an indirect way. So it's up to us to take charge and to make sure that we and our partners and our children are living in peace and harmony and not full to the brim with stuff which is agitating them and us at our subconscious level and causing us disturbances and grief. So a call to action, a massive call to action, is to do an audit on your beliefs, on your habits, and all of the things that make you tick, and figure out for yourself whether or not those beliefs, whether or not those fears, uncertainty and doubts, those irrational fears, those silly beliefs are still relevant for you today in 2023 and are going to help you and are going to be a platform for your future growth and development and expansion. And there are things there that obviously are not going to be relevant for your future. They're not important anymore. And you need to try and displace those. You need to try and change those. You need to try and improve those so that they don't continue to hold you back. So one of the key exercises that were performed at UPW was to do this analysis and to get into groups and to try and identify the things that are still working from the things that are not working anymore in your life. Because what happens is that you blink, you take it easy, you're starting feeling comfortable, people around you are supporting you, you're hanging around with friends who have similar sort of issues, so you keep on talking about those issues but not doing anything about them. And another decade passes, you lose another valuable decade of your life, and then you look back and you say, well, geez, I knew this stuff back then. I knew it was holding me up, I knew it was causing me grief, but I didn't do anything about it. And that's when you start to regret, because there is as Tony Robbins said, there is a sweet spot in everybody's life, a valuable and a very important sweet spot between the age of 25 and 35, and I remember when I used to work at IBM, my manager once saying to me, and he said that, James, if you haven't achieved, and this is really profound, so listen in here, if you haven't achieved the important things in your life, the key priorities in your life by the age of 30, chances are you never will. Let me say that again, because it is powerful. If you haven't achieved certain things by the age of 30, chances are you never will. And the reason why you never will is that, once you get into your mid-30s, then life starts to accelerate and you lose track of time because life starts to move so much more quicker than what it's moved before. And it's that decade between 25 and 35, or at least it was when I was a young guy, that most people have finished their studies, are well into their careers, have a life partner, are engaged, are married, have started their family, still have their parents around to support them and help them, and they've got a huge circle of wonderful friends, and their life is probably at its peak. You're probably experiencing the best years of your life. And if you're hanging out with the wrong people, or you haven't made the right commitments and right decisions, then what may happen, I'm not saying it will happen, but what may happen is you may fall victim to your own comfort and your own procrastination and not end up getting or achieving all of those things that you would have liked to have achieved if you had the right attitude, if you had the right beliefs, and if you took massive action and made the most of those important times, those important moments, which, as we say, come into our lives but also go out of our lives unless we grab those opportunities with both hands, all 10 fingers, both arms, and just hug them close to our body. So Anthony Robbins says that we need to identify what we want, take stock of where we are in our lives, have a look at the trajectory that we're on, knowing very well that we're going to end up where we're heading. And unless we know where we are, unless we know where we want to go to, then you're not going to understand fully where you're heading. But you'll have a fair idea, and hopefully your parents, your friends, your coaches, your mentors will be able to help as much as they can so that you make the best decisions and you don't fall victim to time, because as we know, eventually time conquers all. We run out of time, and the worst thing is when you're running out of time is you start to panic, and when you start to panic you start to make mistakes, and those mistakes start to compound. Now we see it all the time in sporting events when the clock is counting down. Unless you've got somebody who's a really clear thinker and somebody who knows how to go fast and how to go slow at the right times, then we're not always going to get the outcomes that we want. So Anthony Robbins has a beautiful call to action for each and every person. Looks like that ocean liner there is going to go under the bridge today. So we're going to get another sort of aspect of this wonderful city of Sydney. This most beautiful city of Sydney, where we've got the Opera House on the one side, we've got the Harbour Bridge on the other, and we've got this beautiful, most beautiful waterway in between. So what Anthony Robbins is all about is about change, but it's not about just change. Anthony Robbins is the master of improvement, of empowering change, changing in a way that's going to enhance one's life, going to enhance the life of those around them, going to enable people to live their calling, to achieve their destiny, rather than just to waste their lives. So the first key message from Anthony Robbins is that people, in order to change, in order to improve, in order to make the most of their moment, they need to get leverage. Otherwise, you're just going to stay comfortable and you're not going to do anything to improve your station in life. You need to get massive leverage. And the way to get massive leverage is to see what you're doing, see what you're not doing, and to attach significant pain to the things that you're doing or you're not doing, so that you can feel that pain right here and now, in the now. And we're invited to speak to and chat to and engage our future self and have a conversation in terms of how we'd feel, knowing what we know now, and knowing that by not taking action or by continuing to do what we're doing, to see the outcomes of those decisions and actions and bringing that forward into our life now, and then having or experiencing that regret right here and now, and that brings future pain, which a lot of people don't care about, into the present. And by having it brought into the present, that's when you can really gain leverage and make the changes and the decisions you need to make in order to accelerate and to actualize the change that you need to make in order to minimize and eliminate that perceived future pain that you may receive by not doing anything. And Anthony Robbins is very, very big on saying that change is never a matter of ability, but always a matter of motivation. So what we are called to do is we're called to motivate ourselves by actually living out those moments in our minds, because the brain, as we know, can't tell the difference between that which is vividly imagined and that which is real. The human brain, the human mind is very, very powerful and very, very malleable. You can shape it whichever way you need, but you need to understand the building blocks and the process and trust in the process, so you can get the outcomes working for you as opposed to working against you, for you to be the conductor, the master, the orchestrator, the captain coach of your life, rather than somebody else taking charge and control and getting you to do what they want as opposed to you doing what you need to do. And of course, having belief in God and His providence, and to do the things that are God-pleasing, to do the things that don't cause cognitive dissonance, to do the things that sit well with your soul, and to celebrate and glorify God with all your heart, mind and soul, so that you can use your gifts to serve your neighbour, to love your neighbour, to love your family members, to love people in your community, to love others as you love yourself. And of course the clue is you need to love yourself first. You need to love God first in order to be able to love and share your love with others around you, with the work that you do, with the calling that you express. And as we said before, it's all about motivation. And Anthony Robbins says that you'll be amazed at what people can do when you force them to do it. Because when you force somebody to do something, when you place a gun next to their head and say that if you don't do what you have to do, I'll blow your head off. And he says it's amazing what people can do once they are forced to do it, and they can feel and they can visualize and they can taste and savor the pain of not doing what they need to do. So sometimes people need to hit threshold, according to Anthony Robbins. Sometimes people need to hit rock bottom in order to bounce. And a lot of people live in situations which they really shouldn't be enduring anymore. But what happens in bad relationships, in bad things, is that people rationalize bad times by remembering when it was good and live in the hope that it will go back to how it was. But be reassured that the past is the past. You're never going to relive the past glories because you've seen it differently. You're a different person then. You had scotomas. You were blind to certain things. But with time, there is an awakening. Everybody has an awakening. We grow and develop and we see things. And as Anthony Robbins says, nothing in the world is new, but it is new to you. You're probably seeing it for the first time, but it doesn't mean that by you seeing it for the first time, it's happening for the first time. It just means that you're just noticing it for the first time. It's new to you, which is a powerful thing. So a lot of people stay in bad relationships, knowing and try and refresh themselves on all the good times, the honeymoon period, the courting stage, when everybody goes out of their way to love their partner, to do things, to buy them flowers, to compliment them, and all of those things. But with time, life gets in the way, and people change, things change. And yet, people always pine and always hope for things to be as they were. But the important thing to understand is that things and people's reality is a figment of their imagination. We tend to colour things, we tend to shade things, we tend to curve and manipulate things in order to make us happy and comfortable at that moment. But when time passes and we have more and more slithers of reality to compare and contrast to, and to benchmark to, and to baseline to, we get a different picture. We get a different visual. We get a different expression of reality that sometimes we don't want to believe. But it's a new reality. It's a new worldview that you've been able to get access to and to connect with. And that is very, very important to understand, that the past that we pine for, the past that we remember, is only a figment of our imagination. And the good thing is that you can change your past, you can change your present, and you can change your future, depending on what you focus on, what you think about, because that can become our new reality. You can unravel and change a bad childhood, because everybody's life has had good and bad moments in it. The only problem is that the people who think or believe that they had a bad childhood are just focusing on the bad things that happened in their childhood. You can change what you remember and what you think about and what you visualize by trying to remember when times were good, remember when things worked out and you had fun and your family and friends and everybody were just the best people, the best thing in the world. It's up to you to reshape it, to relook at it, to recontemplate and ruminate it, and to remind yourself of the good stories and not to focus on the crappy stories that may have been taking over the way you see life. Life isn't as bad as what you make it out to be. It's just the things that you hold on to make it appear and feel worse than what it may be, because what you focus on becomes your reality. So the invitation, of course, is to look for the flowers, look for the beautiful things, the beautiful colours in your life, and not focus on the things that are not going to serve you and are not productive. And to know that life has its ups and downs, has its good and its bad, but we have the ability to focus on what we want to focus on. As W. Mitchell would say, it's not what happens to you in life, it's what you do about it. It's the attitude that you have, to be able to see the good in everybody, to be able to see the positive in every tough situation. Just like this dawn. It was dark before, now it's a little bit brighter and most beautifully coloured, and later on the sky will be blue and it'll be a different experience altogether. To know that we live in a variable world and God makes it variable, makes it good and bad, makes things with salt and pepper so we can get the full taste of what life has to offer and to savour each of those moments, as we said before. So we need to leverage our life. The next thing that Tony Robbins says, that you need to change, and you need to change right now. And change can happen in an instant. Change can happen in a heartbeat. You just need to invite it. You just need to do it. You just need to cut away, to make a decision, to cut away from your previous beliefs, but you need to associate massive immediate pleasure by making that change. So we get leverage by bringing forward and amplifying the pain of not making certain decisions or continuing to make certain decisions, and then we pick something else up that we want to change into, and we associate, according to Tony Robbins, massive immediate pleasure. And Tony Robbins also says that most people, not all people though, but most people do more for others than what they do for themselves. So once again, that's also something that makes people tick. And it's easier to gain leverage, it's easier to change immediately when you can see that what you're going to be doing is going to be helping others as well, including yourself. Tony Robbins also talks about the fact that we are habitual in nature. We have all of these patterns that happen automatically, subconsciously, things that we just respond to more so than we just respond to it. We just react to it now because it's so ingrained in our subconscious. We don't have to think about it. It becomes animalistic. We just do it because we've already decided what we're going to do. If A, B and C happen, for example, and because it's stored in our subconscious, because it's part of our reticular activating system, it's something that automatically happens, and it happens in an instant, in a heartbeat. But a lot of those patterns are great. A lot of those patterns are serving and really good for us. But there are also patterns which are damaging and limiting and unempowering. And they're the ones that we need to take control of, to take notice of, to check in on, and to annihilate those limiting patterns whenever we can. And we eliminate those patterns by, first of all, as we said before, making space. So you've got to get rid of something. The more things you get rid of, the more space you have, then the less chatter, the less noise, and the less cognitive dissonance we have in our minds and in our lives. So you eliminate and you annihilate the limiting patterns by identifying them, by being a detective, by being there, present, waiting for it to happen, and knowing that when it happens, you're going to do something to break that pattern and not to continue doing it. So if you're biting your nails and you catch yourself biting your nails, to do something immediate and quite animated to remind you that you're breaking the pattern. It's very, very important to break those patterns. And Tony Robbins also mentions that in order to replace a pattern, in order to fix something that is broken, you need to replace an old pattern with a new pattern. Swap it out with a pattern and condition it. The way we condition it is to reward ourselves every time we catch ourselves doing something good, and to somehow punish ourselves and associate immediate pain to what we're doing, because it's this pain-pleasure, this pleasure-pain threshold, this pain-pleasure a duality that is key to shaping and conditioning our behaviors and making us do the things that are empowering and better for us, and to stop the things that are causing us pain and suffering. So people will do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And the other thing that I found really interesting and powerful is where Tony Robbins says that not all pleasure has the same weighting, and we tend to put more weighting on one unit of pain. So if you've got one unit of pain that you've identified, or you think about, or you worry about, what Tony Robbins suggests is that you need 10 units of pleasure in order to displace that one unit of pain, in order to neutralize. So that's why people try to avoid pain at all costs, because in our minds we tend to overestimate, overvalue, put a higher weighting on pain and a less weighting on pleasure. And for that reason, we need more good things to happen in our life in order to comfort us. And we take things for granted, and we don't give the pleasures in our life, the things that we're grateful for, the right weighting in order to neutralize and comfort us and to nurture us in a way that's going to be most productive for us. So as we say, it's all about conditioning, it's all about understanding how the mind, body and soul operate, and to know that these are gifts and these are things that the church have always understood and are very much part of the rituals and the priming and the things that we do through the church. We have priming exercises which get us in the zone of a morning, before a meal, before we go to sleep. And there's this huge sense of gratitude and thanking God for all that we have. We have confession, where we're able to reflect and look at our lives and identify the patterns, the things that are limiting, that are causing us grief, that are causing other people grief, and we're absolved of those issues by confessing them and having our confessional Father help us along that path. Now, there are so many things that we already have in our lives that have been gifted to us, that have been granted to us, that have been handed to us from our parents, our grandparents and our past generations. And we are but a link in this huge, powerful chain. And our job is to take what has been given to us, what has been handed to us, and pass it on to our children and our children's children, if we are fortunate enough to have them in our lives. So a lot of the things that have been handed in terms of our traditions, our culture, our heritage, from our parents, from our church, from God, are things that are good for us, that are God-pleasing, that are going to help our souls, help our minds, our bodies be nurtured in a way that are going to help us, not hinder us in our lives. Fair enough, we're going to have ups and downs, there's no doubt about that. But it's through those downs and what you do with those downs, and it's through those ups and what you do with those ups that determine our character, determine who we are, and determine whether or not we are on track or off track, if we're living, if we're expressing our calling, if we're doing the things that are going to help us be the best version of ourselves in our lifetime, in our limited lifetime. Whilst most people expect to live 70, others will live longer, others will live less. We just need, during that lifetime, to do all that we can, to be all that we can, and to express God's love and God's expectation for each and every one of us, and to live our calling and to sort ourselves out, to fix our problems, to work with our spiritual fathers, to understand that nobody is perfect. We are all work in progress. We are all God's children. And the beauty of life is that we're going to progress if we are on the right path. And the ultimate goal is to become one with God. And to become one with God, we need to have God in our lives every day, every moment, and to serve God, as we mentioned before, with all our heart, mind and soul, and to use the talents, the charismata, the skills that we have, not for our own selfish desires, but to use those things. The reason why God makes us rich, the reason why God makes us educated, or helps us to educate ourselves, The reason why God gives us all that we have in our lives is so that we can take those things and to use those things to co-partner, to work with Him, to help others who are at a different season in life, a different phase, a different chapter, a different path or a different step. We need to work with them. That's why we become parents. That's why we become partners. That's why we become who we become, in order to do our bit to work with God to make this world a better place for others. And by making it a better place for others, we are also making it a better place for ourselves, because we become fulfilled in our lives when we are growing and developing. And the only way you can grow and develop is to do things, is to believe in God and His providence, and to have faith and to live in the moment. By all means, spend some time in the past, spend some time in your future, but spend most of your time in the eternal now, this moment. Enjoying the sunrise, enjoying the peace, the quiet, and doing things that are going to help others and yourself along the way. So thank you very much for joining me on yet another episode of all the things that I've learned from Anthony Robbins. It's another beautiful Sydney day, another magnificent spring Sydney morning, where we've got this glorious sunrise, and as you can see, not a soul, not a body, not a person is out here enjoying this magical moment. And it's available for everybody. I come here every morning. Down there, of course, I'll show you down there, there's all these people taking photos and enjoying what we're enjoying. So the invitation for everybody is to make the most of God's gifts. And God made the world, God created what He created as an expression of His love, and He wants us to enjoy creation, to be part of creation, and to make it even better, to try and close the gaps, to make our lives even better, and to make the lives of others better as well. Take care, Yasas, and I look forward to coming to you again from another place with another message of empowerment, where we can live, learn and pass it on, and to learn from all the great work that Anthony Robbins has been able to publish and present and to share with people in this world. Take care, Yasas, Ketaleme. Bye for now.